What's up guys, MikeCoco back here bringing you guys a new video on the boost update, and this update is what I would like to call Legendary Part 2 because there have been some quite significant changes with this update. The first one you can obviously see is the UI changes. It's been revamped. You no longer have like an entire scroll here, it's just a few items, and a lot of the tabs have been merged, so you can check that out for yourself. I'm not going to talk too much about that because there really isn't anything special about it. It's just a UI revamp. So one of the significant changes that I'm going to talk about is the new hero skills. So here you can look at the new UI and whatever. You don't necessarily have to click here. You can click like here and it will still get to the hero's location. So pretty much nothing has changed. But when you look at your heroes, your main hero specifically, they have new skills. The staff main now has a cleanse ability. So basically similar to legendary Amos. Um, she will cleanse in a 3x3, so she removes stuns and whatever debuffs are on your own team in a 3x3. So that's pretty decent, even though it's for 300 Fury. So that's pretty good. A lot of the main hero skills have been reworked so that if you don't have a specific hero, you can always use the main hero to replace him. For example, Staff has a very similar skill to Amos. So let's say you don't have legendary Amos, you can use Staff main to replace Amos. Let's say you don't have like a legendary stunner. Well, you can use one of your mains, Cannon main, who has a guaranteed 2-turn stun, similar to another stunner. For example, legendary Drake or legendary Alice. If you don't have a good healer, like legendary Jury, no problem. You can use legendary, or not legendary. You can use Tome main, who provides a very significant buff, and so on and so forth. There are other heroes, or the other main heroes also have skills that simulate what you would want to have in your own team if you don't have a legendary version of that hero. So all in all, just check out the mains new skills. I'll probably have a description of the skills will probably be in the description, so you can check it out for yourself. Another thing I want to add is that a lot of the damage for the heroes have been changed, specifically for the main heroes. Before, mains were like super underpowered, they dealt like basically no damage, but now they have been buffed slightly to almost equivalent level to, let's say, 6-star Season 5 heroes on average. Maybe 6 stars or maybe 5 stars. But mains are no longer totally useless. They're kind of useful now, which is pretty good because prior to this update, mains were literally the weakest link in your team if you had a team full of legendaries. So that's pretty much it for the main heroes. The next thing I want to talk about is the daily login, which is kind of neat. Instead of a login like the old one, or our old login where we only had like 1 to 7 days, we now have a calendar, or almost 1 calendar month worth of rewards. So basically, if you log in for 28 days, you can get a legendary Season 5 legendary ticket. So this hires any hero from Season 5 as legendary. So that's really, really good. You also see we have legendary chests, and I'll talk a little bit more about what happened here, but basically they revamped it, and rather than calling it legendary level 80, they're calling it based on ranks now. So there's not much has been changed for that. And we have these rune powders, and I'll go into that a bit further later, and we also have these season 6 tickets, which can be used to hire and extract for essence, and we also get a book of legend for transcendence. Now note, even though it says 1 to 28, you do not necessarily have to log in for 28 consecutive days. It just means that as long as you log in 28 times, let's say in 2 months you log in 28 times, you will eventually get this ticket. You don't necessarily have to log in 28 days in a row. So that's a good feature. The only reward where you actually do have to log in consecutively is for the heart reward. So this is for every 7 days you will get 500 fragments. You can also change it so that if you don't log on that frequently, you can change it to every 3 days you can get 100. But obviously if you do the math, 3 days versus 7 days, you're obviously going to get more hearts with the 7-day version. So that's what I would recommend people to go with. And that's pretty much it for the login event. Now we're going on to the gear. So with the new update, they released not only gear combinations but also hero combinations rather. So if you take a look at your armor right now, you see there's demi, and there's just like this really big button that's a set, right? So now what this means is that when you equip a certain number of gear from the same tier, then you will get these set bonuses. For example, Demigod has a 2-set bonus of HP increase by 300 and a 4-set increase of 7% attack increase. So basically, if I have 2 pieces of, let's say, Demigod equipped, then I will gain that extra 3000 HP buff. You see that the 4-set is no longer green, which means it's not applied. Once I equip 4 pieces of Demigod, whoops, then you see that the 4-set bonus is automatically applied. You don't need to do anything, it is just automatically applied onto your hero. And note that it does not have to be of the same rank. You see, this is SS Demi and this is only C tier, but both of them work as long as you fulfill the Demi requirements. One thing I also want to add is that there's also these set bonuses for Legendary as well, and these bonuses stack. So let's say if I had 2 Legendary gear here, if I have another Legendary, okay, so I have 2 Legendary pieces here, right? If you check the set bonus, I have a green highlighted, which means that this bonus is applied. This also stacks with this bonus, which is a 2-set of the Demigod. So you can mix and match our armor sets to maximize your HP and your defense and your attack, and to get the most bonuses overall. So you definitely want to play with that a little bit and find out what works for you. Right now, it seems like the majority of people agree that Ragnorak is the way to go, which is level 100 gear, and I will also get into that soon. But here's just an example of Ragnorak Gear, level 100. So yeah, most people tend to agree that this is the solid choice. So aside from that, I was talking about hero combinations earlier, and here's where you find the hero combination tab. So if we uncheck that box, this will show all of the legendary combinations in low right now. There are obviously more to come because there's only 1 or 2 S and SS, but they will eventually come. And the first thing I want to add is that these SS ones are 99% pay to get, basically. You need a mythical for these SS hero combinations, otherwise you will not be able to get them. So Tehu and Raguel, they'll also be in future combinations that are SS. So that's why as a free player you want to focus on getting these S and A hero combinations, because these are the best. So for example, these all have like 20% increases, so you want to focus on that. You do, however, need the rank indicated or higher. So if it says 5-star Ludwig, you can't use like a 4-star Ludwig. The hero combination will not apply. But if you have a legendary Ludwig, then it automatically applies, because the order is, you know, rank A beats 6-star and beats 5-star. So as long as you fulfill that requirement, then it's fine. So you want to play around with these hero combinations. There's more ways for you to experiment with your team to figure out how you can get the most amount of bonuses while still having, you know, covering all your utilities. So covering, you know, debuffs, covering your stuns, covering your heals, something like that. So you definitely want to try that out. And after that, I did talk about Ragnorak Gear, and to get Ragnorak Gear, you will need to fight in the new tower floors. Tower has been increased up to, wow, it's loading, up to level 100 tower. Level 100 tower, this is where you can pick up Ragnorak Gear as hidden treasure. I won't go into this too much, but obviously Ragnorak is better than Legendary 90, which is better than Legendary 80, which is also better than Demigod. Not in that order, but it's just better. So Ragnorak Gear, J-Rock recommended that, you know, it's the same theory that applied to Demigod. You want to go for the hidden bonuses first and then farm the chests. And by now, I think most people, if you were at like mid-end game, like if you were able to have like a few like strong teams, then you should be able to clear up pretty much all these on auto. I've been running these on auto for pretty much all day. I don't think I've lost many heroes. I might have lost a few heroes, but I definitely did not lose any runs, so that's really good. And that's pretty much how you can get your Ragnorak Gear. And there is a link on the forums that shows like this exponential chart increase of the Ragnorak Gear versus Legendary Gear. And that is something I also want to talk about. Because if you go to find NPC, you'll notice that, you know, some people are not here anymore. I don't remember exactly who, but somebody's not here. So first thing, we're gonna go to Rita. We're gonna look at the changes at Rita. Now, with this update, Nexon completely removed the use of Ori. So if you check your inventory, you will no longer have any more Ori. Okay, there is no more Ori visible. They've completely phased it out. Any hero can equip any weapon. For example, this is a pair of level 100 gloves, right? I can equip it to level 1. And there, level 1 has now level 100 gear. Okay, so you don't need Ori anymore. So pretty much any Ori you had before is automatically converted to runestones. Now that might sound all great and all, you know, more runes equals more enchanting, but this is one of the changes with the new update. When you pick up items from chests or like just drops in general, they will already be pre-inscribed and you cannot change them. For example, here I have a legendary helmet, right? I just opened that from a chest. See, it already comes with an inscription included, and there's no way to change that. You can increase the level of the inscription, but you cannot change the inscription itself. So I can't change this into a defense up. I can only increase the HP up to, you know, 4, level 5, level 6, and so on and so forth. And this is where Rita comes into play. So let's say here I have a massive Ragnarok. If I want to increase the passive effect from level 4 to level 5, then it will cost me 555 runes and this much gold. You know, it's not too much of a bad thing. It doesn't cost that much. Well, kind of does, 500k, and it costs 500 runes, but you have around 50% chance of it working, and you don't need any rune powders, which is pretty nice. So you can try this. So once you get a good inscript on a drop, then you can try and increasing that level. Now this also applies to legendary gear, but it costs rune powder, and rune powder is available from disassembling legendary gear and rings. Now before we go into that, I just want to clarify that this only applies to passive effects. So right now the passive effect is HP up by 4%, right? You can only change this lasting skill, or what they call lasting skill. I prefer calling passive. You can only change this passive skill. You cannot change the level of the active skill, so just beware of that. I know pretty much most people get legendary for the active, so if you do want to upgrade your legendary gear, I would recommend doing it on weapons because they already have a passive of attack up, and increasing that attack up would just make things super OP. Next up, we have the Rune Essence. Now you can get this by disassembling your legendary gear or your rings. Now if you go to Chameleon right now, you'll see that there's no way to actually sell back your legendary gear. Previously you were able to sell back any unused or any unwanted legendary gear, but you are now no longer able to do so. See, you can't sell. There's no option to sell back legendary gear. The only way to remove it or get rid of it is to disassemble it, and you'll get a certain amount of rune powder each time. For example, if I unlock this and I disassemble, it says expected result anywhere between 176 and 256 runes powder, and I can use those rune powders to further inscriptions on legendary gear. So that's pretty much how it works now. And I think I've pretty much covered it for legendary gear. And here comes the meat of this update, the attack rating. Now, when you go to your hero's attack, you'll see there are two numbers. There's one in green, and there is one in white. Now, the one in white is actually your hero's attack rating. It is not the one in green. Many people are confused by this. I was also very confused by this because I went into the tower and I looked at the attack, and the attack reflected by the green number was the same attack reflected in tower, and I was very curious as to what this meant. And I first originally thought that this was actually the attack rating, but I did some tests after, and it turns out that this attack rating is not your actual attack rating. Think of this green number as just a representation of how powerful your hero is overall, including armor. That is what this attack stands for. This white attack here is still your actual damage. Your actual damage will never exceed this amount. Okay, this green number, think of it as just like the best way I would think of it is as tiers. J-Rock on the forums pointing out that it's similar to like just giving it like a representation of where the hero is in terms of overall strength, including your armor. So try not to think of it as your actual damage attack. Think of it as just like a representation of how powerful your hero is. Because if you go down here, you'll see that there are heroes with, well, let's see. I will put on, or I'll put on a hero with no weapon and just armor. You see here, it says 2000 attack, and people assume, oh great, a level 1 or level 11 has 2000 attack, but that's not the case. The case is actually only 70 attack. This attack rating automatically considers HP and defense into the formula, so you want to ignore that. Okay, the green attack rating might even go down when you equip certain gear, but your overall damage might actually increase. Like, this number has previously been at like 140 something, but the actual attack range has been much lower, and now it's higher because even though the attack rating is lower. So you want to, again, this is where the legendary set bonuses and the normal set bonuses come into play. You want to maximize and figure out how to maximize your attack, your HP, and defense, and pretty much just ignore the green number. That's what I would do these days. It doesn't really tell you anything. It just, again, it's a representation. It really doesn't help you in any way. So just try to ignore that. On the update or the patch notes, it's indicated that the strength and defense is now calculated as a part of the power rating, and the power rating they're referring to is this green one. Okay, so you don't need to worry about these negative strength and negative vitality or awakening affecting your overall damage. It's not. You still want to keep whatever awakenings you had before that were like good for you, that increased your stats the most prior to this update. You want to keep those. So don't worry about the green attack number. That's my final point. And along with that, I want to talk about the nectar. So if you take a look at consumables or material, you see that you have nectar. Nectar is no longer used to buy rings. I have to like really clarify this and make this like extremely known. You don't use nectar to buy rings anymore. You actually use medals, and this is why right now I recommend not getting rings, because your medals, you can use medals to at least pick the legendary gear you want, but with picking rings, you really have no choice. It's just literally RNG, and you can RNG between the level 1 rings, which is the ones we had prior to the update, and newer rings, which are rank 2 rings. I've only opened one box and haven't received a rank 2 ring, so I really wouldn't even bother with it right now. Your nectar is pretty much only used for awakening, so don't try to like buy like a tons load of nectar from Ori or from Runestones, because you can actually do that with the changes to Marchand. Don't bother doing that, okay? It's not a good idea. So with Marchand, we have nectar, you can buy it, and you have Ori. So if you had any Ori before, you can purchase Runestone, because Ori is completely useless. It's obsolete now. There's no use for it. And this I would try to minimize as much as you like. Don't even bother buying it. Honestly, if you're going to get nectar, you can pretty much get it from Tower, and you don't need to spend Runestones to buy it, because there's really no point in using nectar anymore other than just going for awakening. And finally, it's been like forever, we've also received the demigod equipment chest, so now you can finally buy something useful with all those sapphires. So if you've loaded up before, now you can buy like a crap load of demigod. And like always with all the new drops, they're gonna be pre-inscripted, so there's no way to change that inscription. Some other things I also want to talk about. The tower function has been changed slightly. We now have the ability to auto sell when you're using quick battle. So if you go here, you see that there's ability to use quick battle, and when you do quick battle, you're going to be asked like, do you want to sell equipment under demigod and a grade under that equipment, and all the equipment will be automatically sold after each run, so you don't need to worry about your inventory like filling up and then your inventory is full, you cannot receive this drop. You don't have to worry about that anymore, because it will automatically sell any gear under what you state, and any locked items will also not be sold accidentally. So it will only sell dropped items that are not locked and match the requirements. And In addition to this, we also have some. Oh, whoops! Did not meant to do that. Well, I have to wait for it to come out. In addition to this, there are also increased rewards for things. Hopefully I don't crash. I might have. Okay. So if you take a look, okay, so this is like example of a sharpshooter, a hero combination. I have Valor, Claire, and Lucida, and it basically allows you to um, get that 20% attack bonus. So you'll see that even though they're of different ranks, like this is 6-star, that's 5, and Lucida's S rank, the hero combination will still apply. So the rewards I was talking about is now in the missions tab. So if you can see, they've changed it up a little bit, and although the amount of legendary essence is still the same, the ongoing has been changed slightly. So the ongoing, you have the ability, or already finished the ongoing quest or mission, but one of the missions is to use legendary transcendence, and I believe that one rewards you with a rank S arena. And when you finish that mission and hire that rank S arena, you also receive a 1000 legendary essence. So you definitely want to check here and finish those two, because that's like 2 free legendary heroes that you may or may not use for transcendence. And speaking of transcendence, I also want to talk about the changes to transcendence. So now when you're transcending, well, do I have an example? I don't really have an example. Or okay, I don't have a. I'll unlock someone really quick. So with the new changes to transcendence, you're now allowed to have an increased chance at transcendence. So basically, if you fail your first transcendent, I still can't show it because they're on Guild War. So basically, here there's an additional success rate by 3%. What this means is that whenever you fail a transcendence, 20% of that fail rate will be added to your next transcendence rate. So for example, from A to S, I believe it's 30% chance of success if it's not the same hero. So if you get it, great, that's 20%, and your additional success rate resets to 0. If you fail the rank A to rank S, then it'll take 20% of that original 30% and add it onto your next transcendence to get from A to S. So your total transcendence for your next try becomes 30% plus 6%, which is 36%. And let's say you fail that again, then I believe it'll add another 6%. I'm not sure if it's cumulative on the 36% or on the 30%, but you can see that more fails will eventually get you to pretty much near 100, and you'll eventually get success. So that makes it a lot better, because I've heard from people that like they failed like 20 times transcending the Sida, which just really sucks. Because if you think about it, that's 20,000 legendary essence. And along with that, I also want to talk about some of the changes in the weapons. Heroes, for example, spear heroes like Nefertiti and Daphne, and I'm not sure who else I'm missing. I think that's it for now. I don't remember any other spear heroes that I have. But you can tell there's a really big difference. Their attack is now static. They literally have the same low range and the same high range. And if we compare this to, let's say, I don't know, let's do, or are these people's strength that are not the same, so I can't really compare. But you can tell that the spear range has been dramatically increased on the low end, and it may have been reduced on the high end. I'm not too sure because I don't exactly remember. But now spears have really solid stable damage, and because spears hit 2 people, or like hit the front row and the second row if they're up against each other, you're now hitting 2 people or 2 enemies with solid damage, which is really good. This is like as stable as you can get, so this is why spears are now they're like pretty much buffed, in a simple way of saying it. And there are also changes to certain things. There are also changes to certain skills. For example, cross users now have a 100, 70, 100, or 100, 70, 70, 70, which is basically saying your target will take 100% damage and everyone else around will take 70%. And there are also changes like this. for row and column. I won't get into that because you read about that in the patch notes, so you don't need to worry about that. And other than that, that's pretty much it for this update. The main points being the new legendary gear and the changes to it, and how you can effectively use different set bonuses to maximize HP, maximize your attack, and while also being competitive, with enough HP to survive skills and produce a lot of damage. There is one thing I did not mention yet, which was the rune powder at Rita. Although it might sound nice that you can actually, it might sound nice that you can increase the level of the inscription, there is a downside to this. The normal inscription can only be upgraded to plus 15 at the max, and the legendary equipment can reach maximum inscription at level 30. But there's a chance of it breaking as soon as it passes, I believe, level 10. Once it hits past double digits, it either breaks the gear or it reduces the inscription level. Now, breaking gear is not like breaking gear in other games where the item is just lost. It's just damage. You can go to Dennis and repair. I'm not sure how much it costs, and I'm also not sure how much or how many times you can repair it before it completely disappears, because that's what I've heard, that it might disappear after a certain amount of times if you damage it enough times. But I haven't damaged it yet because I actually haven't made an inscription past 10, so I'm not sure about that. But I would say right now, in my opinion, don't worry about that, because getting to plus 15 and plus 30 inscription level seems like something an end gamer would do, because eventually new legendary gear will take over and surpass it. So it's only for people who have really hit the end game and just need that extra last bit of attack and HP and defense to really hit that plus 10 or past plus 10 and hit those plus 30 inscriptions on legendary gear. And that is pretty much it for this update. That's pretty much all the important part. This video has been dragged on long enough. There are also some other changes that I haven't mentioned, but those are pretty minor changes, and you should be able to figure them out just by reading the patch notes. They're not really too intensive. What I've covered has been kind of the more heavier parts. For example, the new attack rating and how they calculate it, and the hero combinations, and the sec bonuses. Also, for the hero combinations, I want to add that they have to be in the same camp. So I'll just do a quick demonstration of this, because I realize I haven't talked about this. So if you want to have the set bonus for, like, let's say sharpshooter, then you're gonna have to have all the heroes that satisfy the hero combination in the same camp. So I have Claire, Lacida, and Balor in the same camp. So that's why sharpshooter is applied. Sharpshooter gives a 20% attack boost, and this is applied, I believe, to all three camps. So even though you must place the satisfying heroes in one camp, the buff will last for all camps. And even if the hero dies, for example, let's say Balor dies, then the buff will still remain until either I lose this infinity battle or until the battle's just over. So you don't need to worry about having like one of them dying and you're trying really hard to gear them up so that they won't die. Don't worry about that. If they die, they die, but the bonus is still applied. And that is pretty much it. It's my final time saying that, but now is the final time. Everything majorly important has been covered, except for one more thing that I forgot to mention: soul gems. This is something I have not mentioned yet, and I hope this video is already not too long. Soul gems, if you can tell, okay, so this is the special shop, I would say deal. For 20 bucks, you get 1,100 soul gems, and you get another 900, or so basically you get 200 soul gems on purchase, and then you get 900 in 30 days. So you get 30 per day for 30 days. This deal is actually really good. I would recommend buying it if you pay for, or if you wish to buy items in this game. This is something I would actually recommend. Now, before you ask, what the hell is a soul gem? What the hell happened to my hearts? Your hearts are now actually used for not many things. A lot of the in-game currency has now converted from hearts to soul gem, and this is something I actually don't agree with, because the one's like differentiating point with Legion was that you can pretty much buy anything with in-game currency. Before you can buy like you can hire heroes with hearts, and you can get hearts from like general, just like friend assists, or just like from random like missions. But now you can't really get these soul gems any other way other than buying them, and that seems like a step in the wrong direction in my opinion. But they did allow you to, or they do allow you to hire um, heroes with hearts, one for free, so one per day. You can heart hire once per day, so that's your usual 30 hire, and you also get one premium hire every 3 days. So that gets you like a little bit of fodder for essence. They've reworked Premium Hire 11 so that the 11th hire will always be a legendary or a mythic. It's going to be either legendary or a mythic, but you don't get to choose. So it's still RNG, and you need 300 soul gems for that. Now, if you're asking, well, why the hell am I using hearts for? Well, you can use it either for Marchand, their miracle merchant in your guild, or you can use them for Chrono Store purchases. And Chrono Store purchases, well, I'm going to show you this right now. So this is like the soul gem part. Pretty much everything in game now costs like soul gem, except these stuff. But these are things that are generally farmable. So the Chrono Store is where you use your hearts for. Now this refreshes, I believe, every 3 hours, and refreshing it actually costs, sadly, soul gems. But you can use your hearts to purchase these things like rank 6 tickets and these experience books. What I would really recommend doing is to save your hearts until you see a good deal. For example, Claire was available for me yesterday, I believe for like 400 hearts at rank 6, and I instantly picked that up because it went from 800 to 400, and even though it's only rank 6, I really want Claire as legendary, so I'll either descent Claire, or hire her randomly through the legendary hire. So I'm gonna use her either way, so I might as well pick up the rank 6 version. But they also sell legendary versions of heroes for a crap load of hearts. I believe it's like 3,000. So if you're really intent on getting legendary heroes, I'd recommend just hoarding hearts right now. Just start hoarding until it gets like 2,000, 3,000, and you'll be able to pick up these heroes. They reset every 3 hours, as I said before, and I believe they're different for each person. Like, I've asked some of my guildmates, and we'd have different items in our Chrono Store. So this is like basically the only use for hearts now, since everything now costs soul gems. And I believe that is it. That's the final time I said that. And there's also a coupon, boost coupon. I think it's Boost Update. If you type that in, you'll get a free legendary ticket, and you can hire any legendary hero, or not of your choice, it's random. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Peace.